Biden and Trump should both declare their position on disclosure. Everybody running for Congress, everybody running for the Senate this year, and the intelligence community that want to keep the information secret so they can reverse engineer it for better weapons. The U.S. government put itself on record in law that technologies of unknown origin, non-human technologies and non-human intelligences exist, and sooner or later, the dam is going to burst.
So we're here with Mr. Jim Garrison. He runs Humanity Rising, and you guys probably know him from his work with Mr. Daniel Sheehan. And so we're here at the SCU conference in Huntsville, Alabama. And my question for you, Mr. Garrison, is the new UAP Disclosure Act has just been released, I think, as of a day ago. And before everyone in the community dissects it to pieces, do you have any key insights as far as what needed to be tweaked or what needed to be reworked from the original Disclosure Act?
Yes, the Schumer-Rounds Amendment from last year, the UAP Disclosure Act, not only mandated that all the government agencies and contracting corporations turn over all their information gathered essentially since the Second World War on anything related to the UFOs, but it gave the Congress the power of subpoena and the power of eminent domain, so they could actually compel the receipt of the information. That was stripped away.
Okay.
So what's happening now, essentially, as Senator Schumer and Senator Rounds said in their now famous colloquy after the bill was passed, but stripped of any executive function, we're now in round two. The Congress knows that in order to get the information, there's got to be some executive function to this next bill. The legacy group knows that too. So we're here at the end of May. There is the write-up that's happening in the Senate side over the next 2 weeks. In the House, they've started to put in amendments. The committees will then determine which amendments get in. And then the Senate bill and the House bill have to be reconciled. And so over the next 6 months, you're going to see a battle royal between the people who want further disclosure and the capacity of the U.S. Congress to have an enforceable law, and those in the aerospace industry and those in the Pentagon and the intelligence community that want to keep the information secret so they can reverse engineer it for better weapons. That's the battle that's going to now be played out. The difference is two things. Number one, there's now an official formation in the U.S. Congress, the UAP caucus. In the Senate, already, even in an election year, they're talking about strengthened legislation. And secondly, you've got organizations like the New Paradigm Institute that have been forming up Citizens for Disclosure. We've been forming up what we call Disclosure Diplomacy Network internationally. We have a team of lawyers that are working on protecting the whistleblowers. So what's happening as the Congress begins the process of disclosure, the UAP disclosure organizations are also morphing. You think about what's been going on in the UFO movement over the last 80 years, it's been principally research. Right? And investigation. Now organizations like the New Paradigm Institute are developing citizen action so that we can make the UAP disclosure issue a political issue. Biden and Trump should both declare their position on disclosure. Everybody running for Congress, everybody running for the Senate this year should tell the American public what's their position, right? So the New Paradigm Institute is really engaged in the political process of not only assisting in the legislation, but also mobilizing the citizenry to put pressure. Like here in Huntsville, Alabama, Mike Rounds is the chairman of the Armed Services House Committee, and he's completely opposed to disclosure because he's got all the aerospace companies here in Huntsville.
I remember the New Paradigm Institute being so foundational during that round one. Because you guys have the easy way to call your representatives and all
exactly.
that. I spent the entire week calling up everyone.
Exactly.
And so are you more hopeful for this round two?
Yeah, we're going to get somewhere. You know, we got all the way to last December. They stripped the executive function. But what got through was made history. Because for the first time, the U.S. government put itself on record in law that technologies of unknown origin, non-human technologies and non-human intelligences exist, and every government agency and every government contracting corporation has to turn over all that information by October 13th of this year. And even though there was no subpoena power or executive force or eminent domain, the law still will be remembered as the beginning of disclosure. Now we're building. And we'll get something through the Congress this year that will be a 2.0 version. We're building national and global networks and coalitions. So we're going to get there. The cat is out of the bag. The toothpaste is out of the tube. And it's only a little bit. But when you consider that this is the most closely guarded secret in the history of the world, and it's the most important information in the history of the world, we're making huge progress in the New Paradigm Institutes, of which I have the real privilege of being the director of the Washington office. So I'm working with the Congress and with the citizens for disclosure and the opinions of lawyers and the world religions. And
you are as close as we can get to this process.
I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic
about New Paradigm Institute's approach to UAP weaponization and concerns about the weaponization of the technology. Danny Sheehan has spoken about his concerns about black carve-outs in the Huntsville area at contractors such as Radiance Technologies and others, being hidden under other larger, more recognizable budgets. This is probably an ongoing program, as alluded to by Ross's talks. Do you feel there are allies in the defense industrial base that are hoping to commercialize their technology and thus would welcome the more open sale of the technology to the U.S. government? Or do you think they are all attempting to keep it as dark as possible, even if they can't commercialize it as easily?
Well, I think you're hitting the nail absolutely on the head. In the final analysis, the issue is who controls the information, who controls the data, who controls the intellectual property. The government, starting in the late 1940s and the 50s and the 60s, they contracted with the Lockheed Martins and the Boeings and the Raytheons, etc., to do the work. Those corporations don't want disclosure unless they're guaranteed the IP. Right? Now, what about the other companies that weren't in that little sweetheart deal?
Not sole sourced.
They want access to that. So we have natural allies in Silicon Valley because, anti-gravitics.
Right.
That is massive. That shouldn't be controlled by one company.
Right.
Two companies.
Right.
But then you get into the whole realm of lawsuits. So it's the complexity of the legalities and the criminality and the buy-offs and who controls what that is in partly responsible for the lack of disclosure, because no one quite knows what to do. If you let the cat out of the bag, the first question is, okay, who owns it? Who owns this? Is it the government? Is it the people? Or is it the corporations that have spent the last 60 years researching it?
The world changes overnight, as Ross said.
That's exactly right.
This impending lawsuit purgatory that we're really trying to avoid. I know the New Paradigm Institute, all of these lawyers that we have are trying their best to navigate this through policy, through things like the Soul Symposium. And so I just want to let you know we greatly appreciate you. We greatly appreciate you coming to things like this so we can further share this. And we just thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your participation in the UAP disclosure. Every podcast counts.
Yes.
Every bit of all the conferences, they're all counting now because disclosure is moving in multiple levels multiple layers, and the more it gets out there, the harder it is to control things. And sooner or later, the dam is going to burst. And we don't know what it is, but I think that one of the main things, if we could get hearings, and that the next hearings by either the Senate Intelligence Committee or the House Oversight Committee is senior officials like David Grush and Lou Elizondo who made their contributions, but they themselves didn't have actual experience with an alien craft or alien biologic, but they talked to people who did. Just imagine if there was hearings and in sworn testimony, people would give direct confirmation that they physically touched an alien craft, or they've done autopsies on biologics and it's real, ladies and gentlemen. That would blow the lid completely off the oven here.
Yeah.
And that's the next natural step that needs to be taken. So we're getting closer and closer, and we're getting closer. We're going to win this.
We have people like you on board, and we're continuing this as best as we
My
can.
good friend Kevin Wright, anything you want to add, Kevin?
No, I'm good.
We're good.
Oh, we appreciate you so much. We don't want to take up more of your time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Terrific.